And there's 3 ways that you can benchmark a role to define what you want in the role. The first way is performance benchmarking. So that's taking the behavioral science results, the experience, and the assessments, their education of a high performer that you have. So let's say you're a high performer in the engineering role. He becomes our performance benchmark, okay? There's one issue with performance benchmarking is it doesn't take in consideration of bias. So let's say that he had a great mentor. That's mentor bias, right? So we go to hire someone just like him, but they didn't have the mentor, and then they're not as good a fit, right? So I have clients that do performance benchmarking, but you just have to recognize that there's bias in that automatically. Another way we can benchmark a job is just do it with single science. The first graphs that were over here, the disc, one person can answer 10 minutes of questions and tell us what disc they want in the engineer role, okay? Or we can go through a process and define exactly what we want in the engineering role called job benchmarking. And it's really the subject matter experts define what an optimum performer looks like in the position. And then we develop towards so current engineers, we would develop towards this optimum performer. New engineers, we'd hire against the optimum performer. First thing I'll tell you is everybody has gaps. There's not a perfect candidate. And so we develop towards this optimum performer and we hire towards this optimum performer, okay? So what is job benchmarking? So it defines what an optimum or top performer looks like in the role. Subject matter experts, those that know the job the best, help us define the key accountabilities of the job. And that's what we're going to do today, define the key accountabilities for the engineer position. If the job could talk, this is what it says it needs in the role to be successful. And so this is the flow chart. Engineers love flow charts, right? This is the flow chart of what we're going to go through today. We're going to go through up to step 4. And I'll explain the rest of the process, but we're going to go through step 4 today. So the first step is that the 3 subject matter experts in the room gave us the reasons the job exists, and I'm going to walk you through how to categorize those. But we brainstormed the reasons the job exists, which has already been completed. Now, there's some sessions where I will have them give me the reasons the job exists in the room, and I'll type them in. Today I got them in advance so that we could be more efficient with our time, and I knew that we had other observers in the room. So I actually have all your reasons the job exists already laid out. The second thing we're going to do is group those reasons the job exists. Then we're going to write a key accountability for each group. All positions usually have anywhere from 3 to 6 key accountabilities. And then then we rank them. Which is what's number 1 key accountability? What's number 2? Let's say there's 5 key accountabilities in the engineering role. What are they ranked in order of importance? And then the last thing is we assign a percentage of the time in a week or a month that we want this position to spend on this key accountability. All right? Provides incredible clarity. Now, this is what we're going to do today for the engineering role. And many of you are going to take part in the process. Many of you are going to observe, so that you can do this yourself for not only your role, but roles that you are responsible for. Because I'm telling you, it creates incredible clarity. Then what you can do after you do this, that we're not going to do at least right now, you're going to define work experience and education. Missed that one. Step 7 is, once we define the key accountabilities for the role, the SMEs go back to their workstation and answer about 100 questions about the job online based on the key accountabilities we just defined. And it tells us, we take all of your answers and we consolidate them, and it tells us what disc profile, which motivators, what soft skills, what leadership acumen, problem-solving capabilities. It tells us exactly what you guys want in the role, okay? Incredibly powerful. And then we finalize the benchmark, and development and/or the hiring process then starts. So what does this all look like? So kind of small if you're sitting way back in the room, but this is what the key accountabilities worksheet is going to look like when we're done. So we list all the reasons the job exists here. Then I start categorizing with you. You guys do all this. We categorize them. And then I put a key title on each statement. And then I sort by category, and I get them organized like this, right? Then we rank them and we weight them. Okay? Real simple. Real simple. And then I'll do the education and experience we need in the engineering role. This becomes our bullseye for this role moving forward. We develop towards it, we hire towards it, all right? And then we put it in a summary form. So this was an equipment sales representative for a company that we work with in Indianapolis. Here are the 4 key accountabilities, and this is where the SMEs want this position to spend their time to be successful. And that's what the engineering is going to look like when we're done. This is exactly what it's going to look like. Okay? Now, The job benchmark, if we were to benchmark the engineering role, because you're going to make a bunch of hires in engineering or you want to develop towards it, you answer those 100 questions, each of the SMEs, and it tells us exactly the DISC profile you want, which motivators you want, which soft skills you want. Okay? So we can paint an exact bullseye of what you guys want in the role. And then when we have a candidate to hire, or we want to put a development plan together for an engineer, this is the engineer's results or the candidate's results. Here's what you guys benchmark. So we can tell the gaps on everything. So this candidate's a pretty good fit. This is what we call an exact match because there's no standard deviations involved. This is one standard deviation away. This is two standard deviations away. So if we're in an interviewing process, we may come up with some questions about conceptual thinking because there's two standard deviations away. Now, usually when you look for gaps, they're going to be wider, but I'm just giving you an example of this page. And then the back of the job benchmark or the gap report tells us the fit. And you want as many blues and greens as possible. The yellows we're going to interview for. Interviewing in today's world is nothing like it used to be. In the old days, what are your strengths? You ask every candidate the same question. You don't ask any candidate the same question unless they're wired now. You customize your interview questions to exactly who the person is sitting across from you based on the assessment results, their resumes and credentials and stuff, and it changes interviewing. It changes it. It shortens the interview, and you're asking the questions related to the gaps. I don't need to ask their strengths. I know what they are. I need to know, are they aware of this gap? And if they are, how do they overcome the gap? Like, so for me, if someone was interviewing me, Steve, how do you manage your intensity with a team? Great question for me. How do you manage your intensity when someone screws up, right? Like if someone hits one of my emotional triggers. So those are all questions that fit me, but other candidates may have totally different gaps, all right? All right, so I'm laying the foundation for what we're going to do today. Then if we're going to make a hire and we have all these candidates, we can make it visual. Here's the benchmark, here are the candidates, okay? So, I mean, I don't know of a process that will give you more information to make a hire than this one because we are laying out exactly what we're looking for, a bullseye, and we're comparing every candidate against it. Here are the motivators, okay? And it tells us how everyone fits to it. So we can make it very visual. So why do we benchmark? Number one, it dramatically increases your chance of making the right hire the first time. There's a statistic put out by the Harvard Business Review that 80% of employee turnover is due to the bad hire. So think about if you raise your hiring accuracy 20%, 30%. You just eliminated most of your retention issues and your turnover issues. It enables us to define exactly what we're looking for. It allows the SMEs to have very open discussion in advance of the search and in advance of development, what's important in the role. And it allows us to develop the incumbents. Anybody that's in the engineering role right now is an incumbent, and it gives us a target to develop them towards. All right? It eliminates that bias I was talking about earlier. And now we have less employee issues, and we're spending more time on and in the business. All right? And then we start keeping analytics as to our level of success based on using the sciences, what level of science, process, and so forth. But you will see improvement in your hiring and your development based on using these types of tools. So when we put development plans together, and this will be something you guys will all consider as you learn more about yourself and your assessments, you first have to understand your style, then you have to own it. This took me a couple of years because there's some things in my style I don't like. Everybody has things in their style they don't like. That's just how we're created. And then we need to leverage your style to whatever that means for you. And so in leadership development, we always look at hard skill development and soft skill development. All right? If we're making a hire, we go through customized interviewing. This is the interviewing process. Not going to get into a lot of that detail, but this is a CFO position we're hiring for. And so we interviewed around leadership and bringing the team along. They're going to be good technically at their role, but can they lead? All right. And so we're, so customized interviewing. All right. Okay. That's the explanation of what we're going to do today. So now let's do it. So ultimately, what I'm going to do is show you how to do the key accountabilities, and then I'm going to show you how to do a performance review against the key accountabilities. That's what we're going to accomplish today without being too overwhelming. So the first thing you do is you have, can you guys read it good back there? Okay. All right. So we're going to do the key accountabilities worksheet for the position of engineer. Currently, this position would report into the president and CEO, and there is no direct report. So you kind of define what the role is quickly, okay? And then you get started. So like I said, a lot of times I'll just say go around the room and have the SMEs give me their reasons the job exists, but because of wanting to be efficient and we have observers with us today, I got it in advance and put it in here. So So the first category is improving on existing designs. So I'm going to put an A on that from a category perspective. So that's our first category. And then we go to B, help sell equipment. So is B part of A, or is that another key accountability?
I would say that's another key accountability.
And you believe A to be one?
To be a key accountability?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so.
With a lower weight though at the end.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is just put a header on this. So approve existing designs. So I just want you guys to watch how I do this and listen to the questions I ask. So once we put a category on the first one, we put a title on it. The second one, sell equipment. And these things will modify and morph as we go, but we're just going to keep going. Delivery equipment against sales received. Design and documentation. Is that part of A, part of B, or is that another key accountability?
I would consider that a different
key accountability. Okay, what would the header you put on that then? Delivery equipment against sales received.
It's essentially delivering the bill of materials to purchasing.
Okay, so let's just watch how this plays out, okay? That's part of this one, so I'm not going to put one there. I'm actually going to get rid of that just because it'll... Service existing equipment, part of A, part of B, part of C, or another key accountability?
It could almost be combined with A.
Mm-hmm. A?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Service existing equipment, improve existing designs go together?
I think you get a lot of feedback from the service side to
Okay.
designs.
All right. So let's keep those together. Meet the objectives of a project while staying under budget and within time constraints. Part of A, part of B, part of C. C? Okay. Creative thinking. So this one, you know, when we ask for the reasons a job exists, we don't look for qualities or characteristics. We're looking for reasons a job exists. So I get what you're saying here, but is it a reason? So I would take this one off.
It would be a key accountability.
Yeah, okay. It's actually, we can measure creative thinking, and so we would measure that out of the process. When we're brainstorming, I don't challenge anything. I write them all down, but as we're categorizing, we start cleaning them up, all right? Design, build, and test machines. C? Operator safety is the most important aspect of a machine, so being able to maintain safety standards without losing machine quality is imperative. So safety, I guess, is what I get out of this one.
But that is C though, ain't it? It's part of the equipment delivery.
Could be C, could be A probably too, more of a... Yeah, C. One's what it could be.
Work as a team to implement solutions to problems. Is teamwork a key accountability of this role, or is that how you get the work done? Okay. So do you see this as one of the three key accountabilities we have so far, or is it more of a quality we would look for?
I would say C.
Sticking with C?
Yeah.
Okay. Solving problems. C?
Yeah.
So one of the things you'll learn when you go to do the reasons the job exists for a position, you're going to think through what you're writing down. The first time you do this, you'll write down stuff like this, like creative thinking, for example. But that's the reason that we want the reasons a job exists. We're not looking for characteristics or why the job exists. We're looking for reasons, okay? Okay, create a unique bill of materials. C? Okay. Design a machine to do the most work in the least amount of operator A? Okay. I'm just going to get this big page number off of here. Okay, so we're just categorizing now, and that's what we're doing. So train techs and operators on how to run the equipment. A, B, or C, or is it a new key accountability? Train techs and operators on how to run the equipment.
I don't know. I'd consider A more like R&D.
Yeah, well then it'd probably be more.
Okay, so you consider A, R, and D. I'm just going
Yeah.
to again, keep tracking what the SMEs are saying. So D, and what would the header you put on this training?
Is
There's more of a like a service tech thing.
Yeah, service, like I said, we service machinery, but then we would go up and change the one that we already classified as.
Service early right here, you
Yeah.
put it as A?
Yeah, go to D.
Go to D,
right?
Okay, all right.
Analyze machine sequencing for most efficient time use to better improve the machine. A? Okay. Create or develop new machinery to meet industry needs or set industry direction. It says R&D right in it, so yeah. Provide and designate accurate bill of materials for order of new or repeat machinery. C? Work with sales to solve a unique customer request or issue. And what I always do is I always capture what the person says and then let the team, if someone says, I think it's B, then we talk it out, okay? Ensure project completion in regards to machinery functionality, documentation, and certifications. C? Okay. Support current machinery following customer delivery. Is that D? Okay. Install machinery when necessary.
C.
C or D? C or D?
Yeah.
D, probably right, because it's not very common.
Mm-hmm.
Analyze reduce product costs in order to increase margin on current machinery. Okay. All right, so just a tip while you're doing this, if you're leading this, every time you finish a step, save it. Because you want to go back to current data. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this and I'm going to sort by category. So again, get all the reasons the job exists, categorize them, and now sort by category. That didn't work right. I'm going to custom sort here. I don't always pretend to be the smartest guy in all this stuff either. On this stuff, so sort by column. No, we're going to sort by category. Okay, so, and as I said earlier, I'm going to save again. Okay, so we sorted everything, and sometimes Excel drives me crazy with this stuff, but we sorted by everything, and we ended up with 4 key accountabilities. So R&D is the first one, improve existing design, and you have sell equipment, delivery bill of materials to purchasing, and service equipment. Do those sound complete and accurate to you?
I think the delivery of machine could probably be expanded.
As far as the header on it?
Yeah, just the header.
Okay, so what would you want it to say?
Question.
Well, and I always, when I don't define the whole key accountability statement when I'm with the team, but I want to get the header, and then what I do is I go back and look at all the reasons the job exists to lay out the key accountability statement.
Just leave it for now and go back.
Okay. I would like to know a better title though if you got one, just because I want it to be your work, not my words.
Mm-hmm. Well, that works for now.
It works for now, okay? Okay, so I'm going to save this. And then what I'm going to do is I get rid of all the noise now, okay? So we get rid of the reasons the job exists, and we get it down to the 4 key accountabilities. Anybody have any heartburn on these 4 key accountabilities? Are these the 4 key accountabilities for the engineering role?
The sell equipment doesn't match exactly, but it's more like help the sales, you know, support the sales team.
Okay. And that's, you just keep modifying and modifying and modifying. Now, in the old days when I started doing these 27 years ago, it'd be like when it gets really hard to do things, a lot of times I used to think, man, the process isn't working or I'm not doing something right. It's because the role's got issues, right? So if you guys all of a sudden came with 8 of them, like this role, like maybe should be 2 roles or something like that. So whenever you're doing this and you're having difficulties getting to agreement on the key accountabilities of a role, a lot of times the role itself will have issues. And that was something I learned from doing this 100 times. So I can just tell you the process works. So if the process is struggling, it's sometimes just lack of clarity on that role. Like we're asking an engineer to do sales almost, something like that. I'm making that up, but you guys good here? All right, so now what you do next is take a piece of paper, write down A, B, C, and D. And you can write down the titles if you want. Now, if you're in a setting where you can print it, sometimes it's easy just to print this for everybody. But write down A, B, C, and D. So you don't rank them as a group, you rank them as individuals, and then you hash it out. Next step, save another file. Tell me when you're ready, Alex and Josh.
Just with the ranks, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm not ready.
Where you say ranking, right? It's
Number one is,
where you think that are going to spend most time.
no, that's next. This is what's most important, 1 to 4. Rank 1 to 4, most important being number 1.
So, okay, number 1 would be design and bomb delivery. 2 would be service, 3 would be R&D, and 4 would be sales support.
Josh?
I have 1 as design and delivery, 2 as sales support, 3 as R&D, 4 as service.
Okay, so one of the powers of this process is that we get to hash stuff out. So they got number 1 done, and the rest are different, not by a lot. But what I typically will do here is I got 6 divided by 2. This gives me 3. Actually, 6, 6, 2, 6. Okay. That really didn't help me. So what I do here is that typically the way it works out is these will give me the rank, and I just type them in, and then we negotiate it out. Just put 1 for all of them? Yeah, yeah. That's going to be a great performance review. Okay. The thing that's interesting about most key accountabilities is that the number 1 rank oftentimes is not where you spend most of your time.
Right.
Like for a leadership team member, being in strategy is really important, but I don't spend a ton of time on it, right? Okay, so now that you guys are both cool with the ranking?
Yep.
Okay, now take 100% of their time and split it up between the 4 key accountabilities and no decimal points. So the engineer didn't like that. I saw the look from the engineer on that one. What do you mean? There's always decimal points. So as they're doing their ranking and weighting, if you're, again, leading it, you can just prepare the worksheet, right? So the first thing I want to do is make sure their percentages add up to 100. All right, and then I'm going to add up their percentages here. And then tell me when you guys are ready. So what I do is I take their total percentage and divide by 2, because there's 2 SMEs. And if it all works, it'll look great. Okay, let me see, who went first last time?
Josh did.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll go. Alright. R&D, 10%. Sales, 10%. 70% there. And 10% service.
Okay. Josh?
I did R&D 10%, sales 15%, design delivery 50%, and service 25%.
Okay. So if I follow my guide here, 10, 13, 60, and 18. Oh, this one didn't come out to a percentage. Okay. All right, so talk to me now. So number 1 was 13%, number 2 is 60%, number 3 is 18%, and number 4 is 10%. First of all, where can I take 1 off of to get me to 100? It was a rounding thing.
Sure, 17.
Okay. Sometimes companies will want to round these and get them nice and pretty. You guys leave it the way you want. Does this feel right to you? So think about it. Wait. So 60% of your week, so that's what? 2.5 days is going to be spent on approval management, order prep. 10% of a week is what? 44 hours, half a day. So half a day on R&D, a little bit over half a day support the sales team, and almost just approaching 2 days on service equipment.
Individuals may spend more time in certain areas, but as a group, I think that would just make sense.
Okay. Yes?
Yeah, I think it's pretty close.
Okay. Any other input or observations from the observers? Any questions on the process?
So when you go to hire an engineer or coach an engineer or do a performance review, you know exactly where they're supposed to be spending their time and in what order. That's the whole intent behind this. What education would you want requirements? Now, I have hard and soft. Hard is required and soft is we'd like to have. So what education requirements would you have for this role?
Bachelor's degree?
Does it need to be in engineering?
Yes.
So the SMEs, what do I put on this? Hard or soft?
I think if there's levels 1 and 2, it's hard.
But
Or if we get to level 3, you could consider it differently.
Yeah, I think it's hard.
I'm going to walk you through the
We don't
process.
vote
and
for
then you guys
anyone
will-
else.
I was gonna say.
Okay, experience. Any experience?
Usually we don't.
No experience?
Right, that's our current approach.
You're going to train them. You're going to train them.
Yeah. I mean,
Through internships and.
We do like one previous internship possible, but it doesn't always happen that way.
So previous experience, soft. Okay, all right. So we just worked our way through defining the key accountabilities for the engineering role.